Hi, my name is Lee. Welcome to L4 Web Design. Glad you tuned in. So I've been a JavaScript developer for 1.5 years now. And if you just start out with learning JavaScript, you might have came across this Fizz problem, which is a really popular coding problem and also often used in job interviews. And yeah, it's a really popular problem, really basic problem, so beginner friendly. And today I want to show you how to solve this problem in the most efficient and effective way. So those are the two favorite words of any developer. All right, so without further ado, let's check out how to do it. Okay, so before we start, I just want to quickly talk about what the Fizz problem actually is. Yeah, the Fizz problem is a group word game for children to teach them about division, where players count up, and every word that is divisible by 3, you replace that number with the word fizz, and any number that is divisible by 5, you replace it with the word buzz. So you would say 1, 2, fizz, because that would be a 3, it's divisible by 3, so you say fizz. Then you say 4, not divisible by 3 or 5, now you say buzz because it's a 5, and so on and so on. For example, for 15 you would say fizz buzz. All right, so and here they also say that FizzBuzz is a popular problem in the programming world, and it's also a very popular coding interview problem, because the interviewers can analyze fundamental coding habits that may be indicative of overall coding ingenuity. All right, so let's try to improve your coding ingenuity now. So the first thing that we want to do right now is we want to pull up our terminal, and first of all we want to create a folder. So I got a projects folder somewhere. Let me just quickly cd into my projects folder. Let's make a directory called Fizz Buzz. Damn, it already exists. Now let's say tutorial. There we go. Okay, let us cd into our Fizz Buzz tutorial and say code, which will open up my VS Code right now, right from this directory. We now have our VS Code open, and in order to display anything on the web, we just want to first off start out with creating a index.html. We won't do any fancy stuff. Just create some basic boilerplate HTML. I have Emmet installed. You should check it out. Emmet will just whip up a boilerplate code for your HTML just by hitting an exclamation mark. So you can see just hit the exclamation mark, press enter, and then yeah, it would just give me this basic HTML structure. Now let us create a div that says hello world, and let's just drag and drop it to Chrome right here, and we should now see this hello world. Perfect. And now, since we want to work in JavaScript, we will just give this a script. Now we could do it in this script tag right here and say give us a console log for this right here. Let's see if it works. We will hit inspect, which will give us our developer tools. And now we click to console, and now we can see it's logging our hello world right here. Okay, but we don't want to do this inline within our HTML code. We want to create a separate JavaScript file for this. So we have to create this JavaScript file. So we reference the JavaScript file within our HTML. Of course, this is not there yet, but we will now create this JavaScript file. So let's say fizz, not fizz, but we want to fizz buzz.js. Go in here, test if it works. It should. Let's give it a console log, say hello world. Now let us refresh the page and nothing should change. All right, we still get the hello world. We get the hello world here. So everything is working. All right, so okay, so you saw the coding problem, and every coding problem has multiple ways to solve it. So let us start with the easiest way. So we want to start out with a for loop. So we want to give it a var, set it to 1, because we count up from 1, 2, 3, 4. We won't start from 0 as every programmer would. We would start from 1. And we will go up until 100. And we will constantly increment our variable by 1 with every loop. So I++. All right, so now the first thing that we could do is say if I is divisible by 15, we will print out fizz buzz. So we would say if I modulus will divide the number and leave and just calculate the remainder. So if I modulus 15 equals to 0, so if the remainder is 0, let us console log fizz buzz. Now let's say else if this will be another condition. Let me say this. If I, now the next case would be if I is divisible by 5, you will console log buzz. And the last case would be else if I is divisible by 3, we will console log fizz. All right, now the last case, if none of this case is true, we will say else just console log the number. All right, So let's check it out. All right, so there you go. You can see it in the console. It's counting up 1, 2, fizz, 4, buzz, fizz, 7, 8, fizz, buzz, and so on. Here you can see the 15 fizz, buzz. All right. So that is the trivial way. But we can also make it more efficient. Let's just quickly comment this out. So this wouldn't be wrong at all. I mean, it does what it says it does, or it does solve the problem. But it's got, I don't know, we got 10 rows and I don't know how many characters. Now let's try to make this work in one line. And if you do this in a job interview, you can really flex on them with your coding skills. All right, so now we will need a for loop as well for this one, and it will start at 1 again, and it will go up until 100. All right. So let us console log the +i right here. We need a semicolon right here. Okay, so now displaying the I right here in the console log will be this will be important for the next steps, but for now we just have a for loop. It starts at I, goes up until 100, and in every iteration we want to count up the I. Now let's did a typo here. Let me just say this, save it, and console log and see if everything works. Of course it does not. We forgot console log. There we go. All right, so it's just counting up to 100. So now we can now say, all right, first part is every time you hit a number that is divisible by 3, we want to print out fizz. Now for this we type in the modulus here again, divided by 3. And now if we save this, we can now console log it again, and now it will not go up, it will not count up to 100, but you will only see the remainder of the 3. So it goes 1, 2, 0, 1, 2, 0, and so on until this would be 100. So these are only the remainders. So now one thing that you have to know in JavaScript, because JavaScript is not strongly typed, any integer at 0 is also the equivalent to a Boolean false. So if you hit a 0 and you would ask, is this true or false, it will always return false. Now any other integer other than 0 will return a true value. So knowing this, we can now combine this information with our ternary operator from JavaScript and just do this syntax right here. We will type in a question mark, So this will be, this is the short version for an if-else question. So if this is true, so if it is 1 or 2, which we can see here, which is true, we will just hit an empty string. But if it is false, which means if the number is divisible by 3, we will print out fizz. So now let's check it out how it looks right now. Now we can see that it actually just typed it to a Boolean, because this will, the 2 right here will give us a true value. So it's true, true, false, true, true, false, true, true, false. And instead of just saying true, true, it will just give a 2 because it's twice 2. All right, so you get the point. All right, so that was the most important part to understand. And now we can combine this with the next step, because now we have all the numbers that are divisible by 3. Now let's hit all the numbers that are divisible by 5. So what we want to do is we want to concatenate this string fizz. We want to concatenate it with our next calculation. I'm sorry, just lost the word. So we have this I. This time we will not count it up anymore because it's already getting counted up here. So that is important to know. Next, you want to see, is it divisible by 5? Let us see what that will console log. All right, so now you have it concatenated. Now you have the 1, the 2, the fizz right here. Actually, that's an empty string from our, let me just whip up VS Code right here. So we have an empty string concatenated with our I divided by 5. Now we have an empty string concatenated with I divided by 5, or yeah, the remainder of I divided by 5, and so on. Now we have fizz 3, 4. Now we have the 0 here, which is again false. So we get the same, we just use the same concept as we used before. So we will hit this ternary operator again, say if it's true, return a empty string, but if it is false, return buzz this time. Now let us see where that takes us. All right, now the numbers are gone. So we can now see true, fizz, this is true. If it's true, it's an empty string. Buzz, fizz, empty string, fizz, buzz, and so on and so on. All right. So now, how do we display the numbers? That's actually pretty easy, because now we can say, all right, if anything of that happens, we can also say, give it an or, and then just return our I, the letter I. So this will do the following. It will go in here, say true, true, and just look if it will just go into this condition, it will go into this condition and do its work. And then it will say, or if this is true, just return this, because an or will return any value that that is true. So it will return this if it's true, or if it's this if it's true, and I will always be true. So if we now save this file, go back to our browser, hit refresh, and now we can see it's counting up 1, 2, fizz, 4, buzz, fizz, and so on and so on and so on. And that was it basically. So that was yeah, that was one of the most efficient ways to solve the fizz buzz problem. And I hope you could learn something. I hope this video was informative to you, and if it was, hit a like and subscribe, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.